Hey Scrappy Peeps, Suzanna here today to share with you my last layout from the January Cocoa Daisy kits. This is a tutorial as well for a giant shaker pocket. So I cut that digital cut file using my Silhouette Cameo, and then I also had these letters which are on a layout that I showed recently for Spiegelbaum Scraps, and this was my original intent. For these letters, I wanted to use that giant heart in the middle of this cool geometric paper. And again, it was going to be the same title, just on a different scale. So it was going to say, "You make my heart sing." The problem here is that I felt, as I was standing over it working, that it was really hard to see the pink, red wording from that Carrie Bradford file. And so I got a little frustrated, but I decided I'm going to build this layout, and whether I use that as the title or not, I can determine that later, but I'm going to go ahead and just continue to build so that I am not going to just get stuck in this sort of what am I going to do phase. So I layered up the vellum, which is a Cocoa Daisy exclusive, with one of the 4x3 cards, and I just created some paper layers to add some visual interest on this fun geometric layout that I have there. I had thought that I wanted a border to bring out the color that's in that geometric behind the heart, was my original intent, but you can see how it's just, it kind of really doesn't do that. And then I had that pocket card that says "Enjoy today," and the way that those scallops go sort of made me think of mermaid scales, which wasn't quite the look that I was after. So I thought, well, maybe I'll just use that "Enjoy today" as a border on the right hand side. But I still really wanted something along the top to enhance the color in those geometric. So I thought that maybe I would cut down that lovely watercolor sort of wash background so that it just had a fine, thin strip to serve the purpose of popping that color. So that's what that looked like, and it's not terrible, but it didn't quite accomplish what I was hoping to accomplish. So I tried it down the side to go with that 4x6 card that I was just going to cut part off, but that didn't work either. And so this ends up being the actual cluster that I go with. I just need to trim down that card a little bit and go with that. And in doing that, I had such a large word there that putting in the Carrie Bradford die cut was not going to work as my title. So I kind of, at this point, had resigned myself to the fact that this was going to be the layout and that I really wasn't going to get away with being able to use those words. I wanted this cluster here to be smaller than what I could cut with my trimmer, so I needed to get my scissors and then kind of play with the placement of this. You can see that that heart isn't quite symmetrical, and so I had to play with the weight of where the picture embellishment cluster was going to go versus the heart. So this is where I decided I wanted to turn the heart into a giant shaker pocket. So I had put adhesive on the back of it, and then I just overlapped it onto a huge piece of vellum, or it's a letter size 8.5 by piece of vellum. And I'm just using my scissors to cut out the excess, the part of the vellum that is outside of the digital cut file. And then I'm going to get my Prima glue pen and just put some adhesive underneath, or glue underneath one of those borders there, and stick this down. So with this kit this month come some exclusive sequins that are heart-shaped. Some of them are really, really hot pink, which don't really go with the colors that are in this kit, but by putting them behind the vellum, you kind of mask that and mute that really sort of neon tone. So rather than picking up the vellum, I just put the paper down smack on top of it, and you'll see me in a minute show you that the dots that I wanted on the right hand side moved over to the left because I put the paper the wrong way, but oh well. Gonna live with it because it wasn't worth messing around with. So now I head upstairs to where my sewing machine is, and I used a variegated yellow thread and just stitched around that heart, sort of fussy stitching in a way. And I used some micropore paper tape. It's a medical tape, and just sealed off my strings. Don't forget when you do machine sewing to pull that top stitch through to the back, and then use some tape to just anchor that down and hold the stitch down tight. So you can see I was determined to really make this work, but now the letters were going to go over the heart, and nope, not going to work. So I'll commit to putting this down, and it actually worked out nicely that those darker paint splatters ended up being to the right of the photo cluster there. The thing is now that everything seems to be skewed heavy to the left. So I felt that I needed to put something on that bottom right hand corner in order to create a little bit of balance on the layout. So you'll see that I use that sticker that says best friends and a couple of other little bits and pieces that come with the kit to build up a sort of a cluster that's going to add some weight and balance out the weight of that heart and the left hand side of the layout there. So I just took a piece of scrap paper. It was the inside of the heart, and I'm going to make a rectangle and then banner that so that I can put the yellow on top and kind of pop that color, notch down the middle, and then V it, and there's a great banner for you. And by doing this, again, as I said earlier, I'm just creating some balance in the weight of the layout between the photo cluster and that right hand side there. So this picture is of my son and his girlfriend. They were at a football game, which was kind of a surprise because neither one of them are really into football, but it was time together, which was the important part for them, and they are best friends. She is his first girlfriend. I believe he is her first boyfriend, so it's all rather new to them and rather cute. There's some wood veneer that comes in the January Cocoa Daisy kit, as well as some really shiny gold epoxy, yellowy gold epoxy stickers that I just put down there. And I'm just using those again for a little bit more visual interest on the layout, and my infamous cluster of trios. So you can see there's the cluster at the top right of the heart, the left sort of near those really dark spots. It sort of softens those dark paint blobs, and then the cluster on the right hand side. So this last part of the video is pulling out the stamps that come with the kit and using them. I used XOXO, and I stamped that 3 times in those 3 clusters. And then I also stamped me and you, and I stamped that twice. And then I'm going to go in with the orange because there's a little bit of orange in that pattern paper, and I'm going to stamp some hearts in there as well. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial on creating a giant shaker pocket. I've done this before, I think also with a heart, only I used a page protector that time. This time this is a vellum shaker. I think it just adds some fun movement to a layout, and it's flat, so you don't have to worry about the dimension in your pages if that's something that you worry about. And all of this again was created using the Cocoa Daisy January 2018 kits. If you have any questions, I would love to answer them for you. I hope you enjoyed this process video, and if you did enjoy it, thumbs ups would be appreciated. Thanks for stopping in today. Enjoy the close-ups. Take care.